And Ron, last week was a Pro Bowl, and it was my first Pro Bowl. Granted, I had to work, but it was my first Pro Bowl, and there was a couple of observations I made. I even wrote them down because I was like, there's no way that this is happening right now. So, first of all, I want to start off by saying the NFL knows how to indoctrinate kids, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It must have been, first of all, it was a full house. I don't know how 50,000 people fit in there, but I'm going to say that it was 70% kids.
Yeah.
And it was great, seeing all those children and having like a different shirt and jersey and team player. Hey, listen, you got to teach them young, right? So I like that a lot. The other observation is the Florida teams actually came out.
Really?
Like the Tampa Bay Bucks were there, Jacksonville Jaguars were there, but far and away the most was the Miami Dolphins. I don't know. I guess they travel well. I don't know, but there was a lot of Miami Dolphin fans. The other thing that I saw was CJ Stroud. He's a real deal. This dude.
What made you think he's a real deal?
During warm-ups, he was on the dot. When he got put into the flag football game, he was on the dot. He made a couple of throws that you were just like, wait, what? I know that it's flag football, it's not a real game, but the fact that he was making these throws accurately without like really exerting himself, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
The Texans have something with him.
That's good.
The other thing that I observe is during warm-ups, and this is something that I always complain. This is why I don't watch college football. Every pass was caught. Doesn't matter if it was high, if it was low, if it was, you would watch it and you were like, oh, that's too high. Nope, caught. Oh no, that's too low. Nope, caught.
They're professionals,
I was like, this is the best of the best. It was very satisfying because not one ball hit the ground. And I was just like, this is how it should be all the time. But I know they didn't have to show the pass and blah, blah, blah.
It's like that. You said you don't watch college, right? But it's exactly like that when it comes to NFL preparation. So when these kids, the quarterbacks, get into like their pro days and stuff like that, and even at the combine.
No, not at the combine. I watched the combine.
They measure how many passes, or look at how many passes the receivers are dropping, and in most cases, the quarterbacks are like, 25 of 26 or 24, 25. Like none of the passes hit the ground.
I've seen the combine, and they're not as accurate as what I saw in the Pro Bowl.
More so the pro their pro day, because they're throwing to receivers that are on their team that they're familiar with, stuff like that. Whereas a combine, they're throwing to a bunch of guys they're not familiar with. But that's the difference, right, between NFL caliber players and most college play, even the top college players. There's a lot of top college players that don't make the NFL. NFL is the best of the best.
Yeah, it was very, very satisfying to see, and it was just warm-ups. So I was just like, wow, this is great. The last thing that I want to say is, listen, there was no Patriot players at the Pro Bowl, which, hey, you have a 4-13 season, that's going to happen, right? But I want to point out, son. So I don't know if this was on TV, so maybe it wasn't, but every NFL team sent a cheerleader to represent them, right?
Okay.
Whether, and they were like, oh, this person embodies our community and, it shows great team spirit, whatever, blah, 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 and they were great. They were doing backflips, dancing on the beat. When it came to the New England Patriots, they sent a dude. Now, listen.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious, because I even remember his name. His name is Driss.
Did you get to meet him and everything?
I didn't get to meet him, but listen. I know that there's some thresholds, and I know that you're very progressive, especially up in New England. And I was like, now you cannot send a dude going forward. If a dude is on the cheerleading team, you gotta send that guy.
Why?
Because I feel like, I don't know if there was an FU to the leagues, like, hey, we're just gonna send a guy. I mean, he has skills. He was on B. He had a lot of team spirit, I guess, but there was only a couple of Patriot fans there, and I went out of my way to be like, how do you feel about the Patriots sending a cheerleading guy? And most of them were just like, Patriots are gonna Patriots, man. I mean, and I seen him. Like, I seen this guy, and if a family members listen to him, he has an open invitation to this podcast, because I just want to know, like, how did you get this job? And let me just say this, Ron. I did notice him way back in September when I went for that Tom Brady ceremony, and I was just like, oh, the Patriots have a male cheerleader. You know, hey, you see it in college all the time, but I just never seen a pro team have a male cheerleader on the squad. So I was like, it was my first time at the Pro Bowl, and it was also my first time seeing this guy. His name is Dress. I was just never gonna forget his name, because I was just like, okay, I see what the Patriots are doing. They're just saying, hey, Roger Goodell, fuck you. We're gonna send this dude.
Maybe the guy deserves it too, right?
I'm sure he probably earned it, but the fact is that I'm sure there were other people on the team, and they chose this guy, and I was just like, hey, more power to you, man. More power to you. All right.
What do you think of, like, the activities and everything else? Oh, so you were there just for the game, though, right? For the most part.
I was there. The game wasn't until 3. I was there like at 8 o'clock. I don't know why they want us there so early. We saw the festivities. We saw the, at the end of the game when they were giving out the trophy. We saw it all. The only thing, like, I was under the impression that they play through, like, hey, quarter 1, quarter 2, halftime, quarter 3, quarter 4. But no. I haven't watched it in a long time. They actually, after the first quarter, they stop and they have some kind of physical challenge. It was like watching, like the Saturday mornings when you watch the American Warriors.
Yeah.
It was just like that. It was like, what's going on right now? And like they award them points, and that's why it was so high. It was like 59-52 the final. I was just like, okay, this is more like an entertainment.
Yeah,
like, hey, the family's here, let's do this.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is. So it was, would I watch the game? No.
Yeah.
I will never watch the game. I only watch it because I had to work, but, I can see what's happened.
I did not watch 1 minute of the game or 1 minute of any of the festivities, like any of the events, none of it. All throughout the week, I just did not pay any attention.
It's for kids. It's for kids, and hey, more power to the NFL. The other set of news is Bieniemy is out in Washington. So, but not only is he out, but he doesn't even have a job. So what's the deal with this?
Yeah, it's not that big of a surprise. I don't think, right? I think we saw this coming. Once Rivera was gone, they said, okay, I don't know, did they even interview Bieniemy? Give him an interview or anything? Like, no new coach was going to come in and say, okay, yeah, you keep being the coordinator. They're going to bring their own people in. So it sucks that Bieniemy didn't get a chance to interview, or I didn't see him interview anywhere else. That goes to show you how many jobs were really open. Probably about 9, 10 offensive coordinator positions specifically, and he didn't get a chance. There's obviously something there. There has to be there. So
you think he's getting blackballed?
I just think his history, and I don't know much about his history, but from what I understand, he's a tough guy to get along with. The players, he rubs players the wrong way. He pushes and pushes and pushes and pushes. Sometimes players need that, but certain players don't. Get tired of that. So, but I did hear, I think it was today or yesterday, I read that Andy Reid said basically that, the enemy's future is great, and if you read the writing on the wall, he's basically saying the enemy will be on his staff like next season. I think he'll fall, have somewhere to land. So I'm not too concerned about it.
The other set of news, Ron, the players union has spoken and they want grass over turf. Is this going to happen?
No, not at all. I think I heard today Goodell said, yes, there's some players who want turf. And
he's like, yeah, but it's 4% that want turf.
But yeah, and then apparently, and I don't know if this is true, but Pro Football Talk, what's the guy's name? He came out and said the players who said that, according to the players union, were the kickers, right? The kickers are the ones who want turf, right? No one else wants turf. All the other players want grass. But listen, the NFL's in a tough situation. And again, you could talk about safety and all this other stuff. You're asking every single team to switch to grass. That's an expensive situation. They can afford it, right? These are billionaires we're talking about. But, they're not going to force, owners aren't going to, be forced to switch to grass anytime soon.
It's all about money.
Yes.
It's all about money. And I feel like if the players union are really serious about this, they would cut back on, okay, well, they play on grass, we'll bend the knee on something else, but they don't want to even do that. And the owners are like, no, we need the revenue from when we have concerts, we have other sporting events, when we have, whatever the case may be. They need the turf because they want to make money on that stadium when the players are not there. So this is, to me, bringing this up, I mean, yes, it's Super Bowl week, but bringing it up, well, it's not going to change overnight.
Yeah, I think turf is just cheaper at the end of the day, right? It might be more expensive initially, but it's not something you ever really have to replace. Grass, you constantly have to replace. So, owners don't want that additional expense and headache. So that's why teams have, for the most part, have gone to turf. So, like I said, NFL does not really, they can say they care about injuries all they want, but they don't. They care about the bottom line at the end of the day.
The other set of news is the Patriots are keeping a Belichick on staff. It's not Bill, of course. It's not Steve. It's Brian Belichick. So he's going to be defensive backs coach. Will it make a difference? I mean, they were a pretty good team last year. I guess he just didn't want to be unemployed, right?
Well, yeah.
It was either that or be unemployed.
Well, so, they decide to keep him, right? I don't know if he had much of a choice. Well,
they offered Steve a job, but he knew that he wasn't going to be a defensive coordinator, right? So he basically said, no, I want to be defensive coordinator. So he went to Washington.
Gotcha.
Brian Belichick, I feel like he knows his place. He wasn't really going to be offered another gig unless he stay there. So, yeah, I mean, if he does his job, he can stay.
Yeah.
Basically.
So Steelers, our quarterback coach, Andy Sullivan, we allowed him to go interview for offensive coordinators positions. We didn't obviously offer it to him. We went outside and went with Arthur Smith, but Sullivan participated, I think, in 2 or 3 interviews. Didn't get a job. I think he was one of the final candidates, but didn't end up getting the job. Well, he comes back. He's coming back to the Steelers as the quarterback coach. So, I think these teams look out. At least the head coaches tend to look out for the other coaches if it's their guys. If it's not their guys, like I mentioned before, like with the enemy situation, if it's not your guy, you're like, okay, thanks, but no thanks. We don't need you. I got somebody else I'm familiar with, I trust. Good luck,